Looks beautiful, doesn't it? So I just really enjoy looking at skyboxes, as you call it, in video games, particularly this one in Vintage Story. Doesn't it just look so peaceful? And you can hear the water rustling. These are things that I enjoy most about video games. Kind of gives you that feeling of we don't know much about the world when you're in this kind of situation. I love the way that the snow sneaks its way in during a snowstorm and how pitch black it can be at night. It kind of gives you the feeling of what it may have been like to live back in these times. Must have been kind of scary at times. Starting off when the winter was starting in November in the game, uh, it's like 9 days for every month in this game. But the temperature, the way the angle of the sun on the earth is, it's all in sync. And as I was preparing my food and getting ready for the winter, the sun was already setting around 1600 or 4 p.m. And I think that's such an incredible aspect to add in a game such as this. Speaking of incredible aspects, I like how there's snow on the mountaintops. Especially in areas where I live, you can see such things when it's, October time. But I like how down below it's warmer, but up higher it happens to be colder when there's mountaintops, which is kind of a weird phenomena. You see how snow normally gathers itself on top of mountains or even in northern areas of the globe. The sun's angle is at 23.5 degrees, or not the sun, but the Earth's axis is tilted. So when the Earth is in specific areas around its orbit, the sun's angle hits it differently. So when the sun's lower in the sky, its heat goes into the atmosphere, but it takes more heat, and so it spreads out more and causes cold. And so um, that's kind of how it works and how wintertime gets cold. And when the sun's perpendicular or 90 degrees to the earth, such as summertime, it's burning hot. It wants to burn you. Unless you are from where I'm from, where there's snow in June and there's snow in July of 4th and there's also snow in August. We had fires during August, but it happened to melt away, and then back to September, and it snows again. And then it's just where I live. I don't know how that works, but yeah. Speaking of how it gets colder, this is like during October. You can see the leaves look beautiful and colorful. Um, and normally where I'm from, yeah, it starts getting cold in October. But particularly up high, as you can see there, when I zoom in, you can see there's frost on the leaves up there. So I like how the game implemented that. But sometimes the lower you go, where I live, like in a ditch, it gets really cold at night, and I'm not sure what that's called. But most of the time, I guess heat rises. But then again, there could be, I don't know, some weird stuff. And when it gets cold out, particularly 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the water starts to melt, particularly in November. And I love how in this game it gradually melts because when you're closer to the shore, there's less water to deal with. So that means you can freeze the molecules a little bit easier, right? You can slow them down versus in the middle of the lake. And I think that's super cool. A spooky sound. What's that weird emanating portal looking crazy rust looking color? Well, I don't really know. But in this game they call it a rift portal. And sometimes they like to show up in this game. And little demons crawl out of it and they'll throw rocks at you and try to kick your ass. It's really weird, but it reminds me of demons. And do you notice that it kind of sounds like an industry and what the Industrial Revolution did to us? Causing major world wars, mass produce of weapons. Very interesting. Speaking about a little bit of primitive industry, when you want to smelt 100 units of copper, through heating it up inside of the crucible, you have to use coal because it has to burn, I think, 1200 degrees Celsius in order for the copper to turn into melted metal. So as you see, what I like about this energy heat transfer here is you can see the flame caused by the coal will create more heat. And so the heat has to produce to the crucible, which takes a little bit longer because the crucible is its own kind of metal. It has to get really hot. And as you see, the nugget of this copper gets more and more red, yellow, and then I think eventually turns deep red to almost a white color because it's so burning hot. And I don't want to burn my hands, so I use a piece of wood that are tongs, and I pretty much use it to pick it up. And then once it's complete, as it is yellow hot, that thing's gonna melt your hand into it. You go ahead and put it into the ingot mold, and you wait for it to harden. And here's an upgraded version of the copper that I was using. And if you melt copper parts with tin parts, which is about 200 units of copper per one copper ingot, if you use 8 to 12% of tin, that technically is saying I take 200 times it by 0.08 or 0.012, and then I'll be able to use that amount to put it into the mold and then let it cool down. And also to prepare for winter, I have my own little farm, almost like a old vintage day greenhouse. And it works for the most part. It keeps animals out of it, but during the winter, the crops get really cold, and if it's even though there's a greenhouse effect of like 5 degrees Celsius, it normally doesn't work, but it did stack me up pretty well for the time being, which lasted all winter. And then going back to the pickaxe, once it hardens, I make it out of stick, and there it is, bada bing, bada boom, 10 bronze pickaxe. Now I could go mine. And then from all that mining, I can go ahead and use the forge. I have to use, of course, some coal, and I'm heating up my hardened ingot, molded ingot, copper ingot, and I'm trying to make myself some arrows. But of course, it takes a lot of steps in this game. It's not like you can just craft it after smelting just a regular iron ingot. It takes a lot more than that. But during this winter month, when my house was pretty upgraded, I was sitting there mostly focusing on making leather, which happens to do with weak tannin and strong tannin. And for some reason, this process happens to take specifically oak logs. So if I put this one oak log with weak tannin, and then it takes 24 in-game hours, it turns into strong tannin after sealing it, and then I can make leather. Oh look, my ingot softened because it's so damn hot. Let's make some copper arrows. Right there. And what we do next is we have to use a hammer, which I think is such a cool part of the game. It's very realistic, it's very medieval, very pre-industrial. And after hitting them in the spots need to be, I got to get rid of the excess metal that I don't need so I can make my sharp arrows. So bang, bang, bang. I'm hitting all of them. Oh, I got burning hot arrows. That's okay. In this game, you can at least craft burning hot arrows with feathers that I killed from the chickens, some sticks, and then the burning hot arrows, and it automatically turns into some copper arrows. Now I can defend myself against bears. Put my hammer on the tool rack, and I'm gonna go feed the cocks. I mean chickens. As I feed them, they like to run away from me because they're like first generation. I guess it takes 3 generations of these cluckers to finally like you and let you pet them without them running. Look at them. Look at them running. And incubate the eggs, please. I'm tired of waiting for them to incubate the damn eggs. But yeah, that's the Vintage Story experience, and it's really fun. And speaking of another fun experience of a game that I find fascinating is this little 2D, almost looking like addicting games video game called Barotrauma. You're a submariner sometime in the future on the Jupiter's moon called Europa under an icy cold surface, a whole ocean moon. And the thing I like about this game is it does well with the physics-based stuff. So as you see, the ballasts are filling up with water on that little HUD, the blue squares, and that causes the submarine to get a lot more weight in it so it could dip lower and descend itself. And then you notice the water starting to pump itself out so the engines can work. And although while it's still going down, it's pushing the submarine further in. And right here, there happens to be some enemies, those little blue dots, and I have really good AI assistants who are manning the guns because they're security guards, and I'm trying to just make sure they don't destroy the damn ship. And as you see the little yellow glowing HUDs, that's the damage done to the ship. But I have really good mechanics in this game that are repairing the hull on the spot, which is makes it a game, but it's really cool to think about. And if you're wondering what all those shiny things are that keep shining when the sonar, which is known for sound navigation and ranging in submarines, that's for spotting walls so I don't crash into them. And then, of course, there's more evil creatures here in Europa because it's an alien planet, and the video game loves to add that stuff into it. It makes the challenge super fun. And there they are destroying my my ship, and I need the people to heal it. And as they are, they're repairing it. They're getting in there, putting on diving suits so they don't get crushed under the pressure. Speaking of pressure, you'll see that in a moment. So I'm trying to push the ship up with its automatic control and make the water drain itself. But since there's damage, as you see, there's water that fills up anyways, and so it's making my ship descend. So what normally happens, my favorite part about this game is I like to try not to let the submarine completely crash on the ground like it's about to. And oh, there we go. They repaired it. The water starts to pump itself out from the ballast, and see, look, it's lifting up to the objective. And I think that stuff is just phenomenal. And as we come to a stop and get to our objective, I love that part how you could fill up the door, and as long as you have a diving suit on, you won't get crushed under the pressures. And I show up to this creepy alien fortress, and this is my favorite part. These little globby slimes come up and start to attack my engineer. Aha, I got the first one. Bravo, job well done. My guy's going to be safe for now. He's got to get into this messed up alien infested fortress just to collect some medical supplies that was a distress call. So as I use my as I break down these doors with the I don't even know, it's like a welding tool. There's definitely not any more threats in there. But I remember doing this, and oh no, there's more threats. No, get away from me. Oh god, he's getting attacked. I try to defend himself. One explodes on him. It sticks its poison into his chest, and he's sitting there thinking, oh god, I'm gonna die. But I said, no, no, keep the mission going. So he continues. He goes deeper into the abyss, and the water physics are so cool. I love how it fills up in the game. It's so well done, and it does it here too. Just look at that. Oh, and you could tell the infection's already starting to spread. He's starting to get paralysis from whatever those little gooby glob Shrek's children, I don't know what you call them, but they attacked him. And he's slowing down. As you can see, my guy can't swim as fast. Something's happening. But what is it? What is causing him to slow down? He's just trying to do his mission, the poor mechanic. He was one of my best. The oxygen tank is fine. The harpoons are getting loaded just in case he finds another. But alas, the objective is right there. He picks up the container. We got one of the crates that we need. Oh, he's going so slow. What's the matter? Oh no, he passed out. He got poisoned to death. There's a cause and effect in this game. And there's going to be a great medical analysis here. Another part I think is great about this video game, and video games like this in general. I have to go get her. Okay, here we go. She's got her suit on. The medic's. Oh wait, why is all the power off? Oh no, because our mechanic was out. His job was to keep the reactor fuels in the reactor, but the reactor shut off. It seems like the ship can't hold itself in place by using its automatic system of putting water in and letting water pump out. Hurry, Captain, put the nuclear rod in. We're gonna crash. And that's the coolest thing about this game is the power of the ship is the only thing that keeps the weapons working, that keeps the ballast pumping in and pumping out water. It's pretty much the only thing that helps the ship operate in the sonar. And it's the only thing that kind of helps people breathe because that's how the air circulates through the ship. And with it off, and we hit the bottom anyways. They got to repair it so we can let the water pump out so we can float back up. And I think that's just great stuff. That's super detailed in this game, how vital it is. And right here, the medical analysis. He's deceased. He had paralysis. He had organ damage, and he couldn't breathe after he died because of some weird acid, gloomy, slobby glime creatures, those damn Europa aliens. This game is full of twists and turns. That's the best part about it. But that's okay. The medic here, she's going to go ahead and finish the mission because normally when you're doing, I guess I would consider this like either an agent, secret agent, not secret agent, but like a government operation. Um, Everyone's on board. So sometimes when one person dies, someone who's not qualified will still do the job. And here's another great part. Without the power, the water would not be able to pump out the way it is right there. This game is very detailed. Every wire you see is actually working in the game because of the nuclear reactor, right? The nuclear fission, their turbine systems, including all the power systems that help it operate. I just think it's super cool. By the way, after I did this mission and I stopped recording, our ship got completely demolished by aliens and everyone died. But luckily, I have save files. That's another thing I love about video games. But I'm glad I got to share this with you guys. Goodbye. I'll stop the world and melt with you.